Welcome to tonight's Saturday Night Special, episode 44 on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Joel Hallbaker, teacher, speaker, and author of Inverted Leadership. I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to lead through confident humility is key, and one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mader.
That every time something pulls you away, you look over at it and go, no, this is not more important. My purpose is more important. The reason behind this is more important. The emotion that I will feel if I achieve this is more important. Then nothing can pull you off of that goal. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world. In tonight's Saturday Night Special, I talk with you about a workshop I've given this week on finding your why. I share why this is so much more important than the plan that you might have in your life, and how this single thing is the most overlooked step and the key to real success. You know, one area that a lot of folks need some help with is around the area of productivity. Getting not just more things done, but actually getting the right things done can be really, really tough. I've got a course called Productivity for Your Passion that's designed to help you do this and then to hold you accountable and walk with you so that you can tailor productivity not just to be getting more done, but actually getting the right things done. What's more, we take the approach of looking at your personality and how you actually look at things in the world and tailor the productivity system to your personality. Because the truth is, a lot of the systems that are out there are written really well for somebody with a particular personality type. But if you have a different approach to things, they just don't work. But there's tools and techniques and approaches that you can take that will work for anyone. And we help you do that in Productivity for Your Passion. Check it out over at inspiredstewardship.com/launch. So the last couple of months, starting in April, the coaching mastermind group that I'm part of has been hosting a whole bunch of workshops for free. Just anyone can attend. And we're focused on helping people with their money. But the interesting thing about this workshop series is one of the first ones that we focus on is this step of refocusing. See, the broad framework that we use in financial coaching in this group is the idea of refocus, gain control, and set a plan, which I've talked about before on the podcast. And this week, I had the opportunity to teach again one of the workshops from the refocus phase about finding your why. I've given this a couple of times over the last few months, and it's always one of my favorite workshops to do. Because ironically, it's one of the workshops that actually helps people make the most progress with their money, and yet it has nothing to do with numbers. It's all about psychology and our thinking. It's all about what happens between our ears. And I'd like to talk about what that activity is and why it's so much more important than the plan. You know, yesterday we talked a little bit about spending plans and we talked a little bit about tracking, but this step is absolutely vital, because if you don't focus on this, if you don't find this, then what happens is you start following the plan, but eventually you fall off the wagon. The number of people that I have that have had a goal about getting out of debt and they've done it multiple times, but they just keep going back into it. Or they've tried before over and over again to have a budget and keep it in place, but then they fall off the wagon and they can't make it stick. And a lot of this comes about because they have goals, but they don't have a why. They don't have a real reason behind what they do. See, the difference is a goal is something finite. A goal has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But a why is more like a purpose. It's the emotional reasons behind why that goal is important to you. And so the question that we ask people in this step is to define what wealth means to you. Now, to be careful with that, because there is some context that comes ahead of time. We do some other activities, and I encourage you to attend one of these workshops coming up. I'll put a link in the show notes of where you can find all of the ones that are coming up and sign up for them and continue to get notifications of the ones that are coming in the future. Because we'll probably be doing those into July and maybe even into August as well. But basically, what does wealth means to you? Another way of thinking about it is, what does happiness mean to you? Or what does leading a rich life mean to you? What components does it have? How does it feel? What are the emotions behind it? And don't just answer in one or two words, but actually tell a story. The more you can paint a picture, the easier it is to identify and connect with it. Because the truth is, I want to get out of debt. Okay, that's a good goal. That's fine. That makes sense. But why do you want to get out of debt? Well, because if I get out of debt, then I'll feel better. What does feeling better mean? What does that look like to you? Well, I won't be up at night worried about my debt. Okay, now we're getting there. Why are you worried about staying up at night? What about the debt gets you worried? And you keep digging and asking for more. And see, behind all of that, there's a fear. Behind all of that, there's a pleasure. Behind all of that, there's something that you are wanting to move away from or move towards. If you have a partner, do this together, but also do it separately. Meaning, first, each of you kind of come up with your own definition. And then sit down together and begin to talk through what's the same and what's different about this definition. How do you see it similar and how do you see it different? What emotions is one of you identifying that perhaps when you hear the other person call it out, you're like, that makes sense. See, this is the most overlooked step and is a key to success, because the truth is, whenever you have a goal, I don't care what the goal is, whenever you try to do something with your money, what ends up happening is there's always going to be emotional barriers. There's always going to be something else that's going to come up that can pull you off of your goal. But if you have a deep enough reason why, if you have a purpose behind it that is so connected to you that every time something pulls you away, you look over at it and go, nope, no, this is not more important. My purpose is more important. The reason behind this is more important. The emotion that I will feel if I achieve this is more important. Then nothing can pull you off of that goal. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Go over to inspiredstewardship.com/iTunes rate, all one word, iTunes rate. It'll take you through how to leave a rating and review and how to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get every episode as it comes out in your feed. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.